The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as the transmission from the outer colonies cut to static. Ambassador Zekthar's 3 eyes widened in disbelief, his crystalline skin shifting from its usual azure to a sickly grey. In his 4 centuries of diplomatic service, he had never witnessed such brutality. "Impossible," whispered Chancellor Vrim, her mandibles clicking nervously. "The Krovan swarm has conquered 47 systems in less than a standard cycle. No species has ever stopped them." Hannah Chen stood at the far end of the council chamber, her arms crossed, her expression unreadable. The human representative had requested this emergency session 3 rotations ago, but the council had dismissed her warnings as the paranoid ramblings of a young species barely 200 years into the galactic community. Ambassador Chen Zekthar finally spoke, his voice trembling. "The swarm has just destroyed the Valorian homeworld. 3 billion lives gone in hours. We must negotiate terms of surrender before they reach the core systems." Hannah's dark eyes fixed on the ambassador with an intensity that made him recoil. "Negotiate," she repeated, her voice dangerously calm. "You want to negotiate with locusts?" "The Krovan are not mere insects," Vrim interjected. "They possess intelligence, however alien. Surely terms can be reached." "Terms?" Hannah laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You invited me here to listen, so listen carefully. I'm only going to say this once." She activated her neural interface, and holographic displays erupted across the chamber. 3 weeks ago, a Kraven scout ship entered the Sol system. They sent one message: submit or be consumed. The council members shifted uncomfortably. They had all received similar ultimatums from the swarm. "They expected us to panic," Hannah continued, "to flood their channels with pleas for mercy, to offer tributes, to beg for our lives like every other species they've encountered." Her smile was cold and sharp. "Instead, we sent them Commander Daniel Kraus." The hologram shifted to show a human male in military uniform, standing on the bridge of a ship. Daniel's face was young but hard, carved from the same unyielding stone as Hannah's expression. Behind him, the viewport showed the Kraven scout ship in targeting range. "Commander Kraus delivered humanity's response," Hannah said. "One word, no." The recording played. Daniel's voice was steady, almost conversational. "Attention, Kraven vessel. You have 3 minutes to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. This is your only warning." Zekthar watched in horror as the Kraven ship opened, fire and disappeared in a flash of white light. 3 seconds later, the human vessel hadn't even bothered to raise shields. "You destroyed their envoy," Vrim gasped. "That's a declaration of war." "No," Hannah corrected. "That was pest control. This is a declaration of war." The hologram expanded to show the Sol system's asteroid belt. Hundreds of massive structures hung in the void, each one bristling with weapons that made the Council's finest warships look like children's toys. The camera zoomed in on one structure where human workers in powered armor swarmed like industrious ants, assembling more weapons, more ships, more instruments of destruction. For 3 weeks. "The Krovan have been advancing toward Earth," Hannah explained. "Every world they've conquered, they've grown stronger, more numerous. They've added billions of drones to their swarm. Right now, they're approaching the Saturn orbital defense perimeter with a fleet of over 10,000 ships. Then Earth is lost," Zekthar said quietly. "I am sorry, Ambassador Chen." Hannah's smile widened. "Watch." The hologram shifted to a live feed from Saturn's orbit. The Krovan armada emerged from hyperspace, a writhing mass of organic ships that blotted out the stars. They immediately began their attack formation, the same pattern that had destroyed the Valorian home guard in minutes. Then Daniel's voice echoed through the chamber, transmitted on every frequency. All human vessels, execute protocol extermination. Leave none alive. The asteroid belt came alive. What the Council had mistaken for defensive structures were launch platforms, and now they vomited forth an endless stream of missiles, drones, and autonomous warships. The humans had turned their entire outer system into a weapon, but that wasn't what made Zekthara's blood freeze in his veins. The Craven swarm began to die, not from explosions or energy weapons, but from within. Their ships convulsed, organic hulls rupturing as something consumed them from the inside out. The camera zoomed in to show microscopic machines, nanites, flooding through the swarm's vessels like a plague. We spent 3 weeks studying the scout ship's biology, Hannah said clinically. Turns out, the Krovan share their genetic material across the entire swarm, extremely efficient for rapid communication and adaptation. Also, their greatest weakness: in less than an hour, 10,000 Craven ships became 10,000 drifting tombs. Not a single human vessel had fired a conventional shot. The council chamber was deathly silent. You weaponized a virus. Chancellor Vrim whispered. We weaponized everything, Hannah replied. The virus, the nanites, the gravitational weapons, the antimatter torpedoes currently in transit to every known Craven staging ground. Even now, Commander Kraus is leading a fleet to their home clusters. By this time tomorrow, the Craven swarm will be extinct. This is genocide, Zekthar breathed. Hannah turned to face him fully. No, Ambassador. This is survival. You've spent centuries negotiating with predators, offering them pieces of your territory, your resources, your people, hoping they'll be satisfied and leave you alone. We learned a different lesson in our history. She leaned forward, her voice dropping to barely above a whisper. Yet somehow every being in the chamber heard her clearly. When something threatens to eat you, you don't negotiate. You don't compromise. You kill it, completely and utterly, so it can never threaten you again. Because the only thing more dangerous than a predator is showing a predator mercy. Daniel's face reappeared in the hologram, speaking from the bridge of his flagship as it jumped to hyperspace. Council members, this is Commander Kraus. We've just received intelligence that 6 other swarms are active in the galaxy. We're hunting them all. Consider this a courtesy notification. Stay out of our way. The transmission ended. Hannah gathered her data tablets and turned to leave. Wait, Zekthar called out. What happens after you've eliminated all the threats? Hannah paused at the doorway, glancing back over her shoulder. Then we'll talk about joining your galactic council. Until then, humanity has work to do. As the door sealed behind the human ambassador, the council members sat in stunned silence, finally understanding the terrible truth. They hadn't invited humanity into the galactic community. They'd unleashed something far more terrifying than the Craven swarm. They'd unleashed a species that viewed extinction as a perfectly acceptable negotiating tactic. And somewhere in the depths of space, Daniel Kraus smiled as another swarm cluster appeared on his sensors. Already doomed before they even knew humans existed. The galaxy would learn. One way or another, they all would learn. Humans don't negotiate with monsters. They exterminate them.